And they have cleverly nicknamed that bus Ivan the Terra Bus. Buses here are a lot less cleverly named, so I'll spare you guys. The transmission lockup feature of the bus is what's enabling us to get this down this moraine safely and slowly. As I've engaged it, it enables us to move one speed safely, slowly down the side of the moraine until we get down to the very bottom. But here we are, bottom of the moraine, safe and sound. Would you have a look at that? No casualties this time. Personal best. But I suppose the tour is still young. We'll see how we do. I see we have our fellow ice explorer waiting for us, giving us the right of way. What a gentleman. So we begin making our way down. But more trivia for those of you who are interested. Would anyone like to take a guess as to whether or not we are on the glacier yet? I hear a couple nopes. Well, in fact, we are driving on the glacier, correct. We're traveling on what's called the ice core moraine. Look at the debris out the right and left-hand sides of the buses here. All this debris you're seeing comes off the lateral moraine due to erosion and rock slides. And underneath this debris, we're driving over top of just about 30 meters of glacial ice, so close to about 100 feet of glacial ice underneath us right now, this ice core. And this debris acts as an insulator for the ice. And we have some of the slowest melting glacial ice of the Athabasca just out our left-hand side underneath this debris here. And if you look closely, you guys can see some of this ice core moraine protruding through the debris. Can you guys see that there? That there is Athabasca's glacial ice. And in the summertime, on warmer days, we got a lot of melt water coming off the ice cores as well as the glacier. And we have these ponds that form similar to what we have in front of us. But we've decided to turn this particular pond into our Brewster patent-pending tire wash station. You know, $5,000 each for the tires. They better look good for our photos, so why don't we shine them up a little bit? Get them looking good. There we go. And here we are, driving directly over the surface of the Athabasca. Everybody wave hello to our fellow ice explorers at the left-hand side. Oh my goodness, look at him. Everybody wave hello. There we are. Now, as you guys can see, we're driving directly over the top of the surface of the Athabasca. And the reason we rinse off our tires the way we have there is so that we're not bringing any debris with us out onto the glacial surface. You know, any dark debris that we collect on our tires from driving on the lateral moraine, if it was brought out onto the surface of the ice here, it would attract more sunlight, more heat from the sun, causing the glacier to melt much quicker. We do not want that, and the white glacial ice on the very surface here does an excellent job at reflecting the sun's light and heat, and I'm told that more than 80% of this sunlight is reflected back from the atmosphere. Now, I don't believe that. I don't believe that it gets reflected into the atmosphere. I believe on sunnier days, the sunlight gets reflected off the glacial ice and goes directly into my eyes whenever I forget my sunglasses. But why don't we have a look up at the moraines on our left-hand side, give you guys another idea of just how big the Athabasca used to be just over 150 years ago. It would have been as thick as the moraines ridges on our left-hand side there, so just over 150 years ago, we'd be underneath well over 300 feet of glacial ice right now. Quite astounding to think. If we take a look at our right-hand side, along the wall of that mountain face that you're seeing there, you can see these lines running diagonally down the side of this mountain face. You guys see those? Those are called glacial striations. Okay. These glacial striations begin close to about the head wall, along the side of that mountain face there. As you can see, they travel diagonally down the side of this mountain face here, all the way down through the valley. And they were formed by the Athabasca back in 1843. And as the glacier was moving down through the valley, it was scraping up against the wall of that mountain face there, leaving behind these striations. So you can see they have a bit of a wavy pattern to them, these striations here. But a lot of people are curious as to how we get glacial movement from such a large mass of ice. Well, assisted by gravity, of course. The glacier, the Athabasca, is being pushed by the Columbia ice fields and the ice pouring over top of it. So at our 11 o'clock there, as I mentioned, we have our head wall. And just beyond the head wall, we have this big plateau of glacial ice called the Columbia ice fields. And as ice accumulates in this ice fields and pours down into these outlet valley glaciers, it pushes the glacial ice of the Athabasca further and further down through the valley towards our Discovery Center, inch by inch every day. And we cumulatively get about 10 meters of movement from the Athabasca each and every year. And as I said, it occurs each and every day as the glacier is moving inch by inch down towards our Discovery Center through the valley here. So even as we're driving over top of it now, the glacier is in fact moving, which is why I believe it takes us just a little bit longer to drive up these roads than it does to drive back down. But beyond the head wall of the glacier, as I mentioned, we have this plateau of glacial ice, the Columbia ice fields. This massive plains of nothing but glacial ice. There's not much for wildlife or vegetation up there. But it's this massive plateau of glacial ice, about 215 square kilometers of glacial ice. It's absolutely enormous. Now, for a size comparison for my Canadians, that's about the size of the city of Vancouver. And for any Americans we may have on board, that's about the size of the New York Central Park, 100 times over. It's absolutely enormous. And as I mentioned, it feeds 6 major outlet valley glaciers with their ice. The Athabasca is the second largest at about 5.5 kilometers long and a kilometer wide at its widest point. But all the ice of the Athabasca here only makes up about 2% of the total ice of the Columbia ice fields beyond that head wall. Now, if we look at our right-hand side, we can see a couple of people walking up the glacier here. Why don't they look prepared for walking out on a glacier today? Shorts and a t-shirt, no spikes for their shoes, you know, no poles, nothing. They must be experts. But why don't we have a look at our left-hand side? We have a couple mountain peaks coming into view here. Now, at about our 9 o'clock, what we have here is Mount Athabasca. Okay? And to our 10 o'clock, these 2 mountain peaks that you're seeing here is in fact one mountain. It's called Mount Andromeda. And sitting in the valleys of these mountains, we have a few independent hanging valley glaciers. Now what that means is independent. They're not fed glacial ice by the Columbia ice fields as the Athabasca is here. There's just glacial ice that has accumulated in those valleys over thousands of years, and of course they hang over the valleys of this other glacier. So we call them independent hanging valley glaciers. And at our 10 o'clock, sitting in the valley of Andromeda, we have the Andromeda Glacier. It is also classified as a cirque glacier. Now, cirque meaning circular, carves that bowl-shaped circular formation from out of the mountain as the glacier moves further and further down through the valley. And to our 9 o'clock, that glacier that you're seeing there is called the Double A Glacier, or the AA Glacier, because it sits in the valley of Athabasca and Andromeda. But as you can see, we're approaching our turnaround point here. This is where we'll be disembarking from the bus, walking around, taking photos, enjoying the view, what have you. Now, come find me if you have any questions at all, you know. Don't be shy. If you want me to elaborate on something fascinating you heard on the tour, feel free to be my guest. But if you simply want me to take a group photo or a family photo for you, come find me. I'd be more than happy to do that for you as well.